think about sitting cross-legged. I don't really like sitting on chairs. They push on your hamstrings, sometimes the back of your knees. I think they're extremely unhealthy ways to sit. So whenever I can, I sit cross-legged. And there are two ways that I can do this. And one is to initiate the movement with my left leg, put it behind my right ankle and go down on my right leg. And here I am, comfortably sitting cross-legged. An alternative way to do it, and one which I didn't do for a long time, is to initiate the movement with my right leg, putting it behind my left foot and going down on my left leg. And here I am, sitting cross-legged, except up until about 2 years ago, I could hardly do that. This knee would never go down. These hip flexors were tight. It was extremely uncomfortable. But then once I realized what I was doing, creating this misalignment in my body, I started making these movements both ways, initiating my sitting with my left leg and other times with my right leg. And that seems to be doing a great deal of good for tightness in my hips. Of course, it's a long-term battle. It took me 50 years to get myself tight, so I imagine it might take 4 or 5 to straighten me up. So that's the issue of sitting cross-legged. Really my preferred way to sit most of the time, because it tends to straighten my spine. If I drop my shoulders back, I have fairly good posture, as opposed to sitting on a chair. For the last 50 years or so, I've always started my day with 2 cups of tea. Not 3, 2. 3 is too many. But I always have a favorite cup with a certain shaped handle. This is my current favorite cup. And I'll sit and drink my tea in the morning and enjoy my tea a great deal. Notice the way I'm sitting, the comfortable way around for me, but I'm varying that now. And then about 2 years ago, a lump appeared on my finger about here. I went to a dermatologist and they agreed with me. It felt like it might be a mass growing there, a tumor. A hand surgeon thought the same thing on looking at it. The x-rays didn't clarify the issue. Decided to do finger surgery. I watched the surgery, fortunately. It was so interesting to watch surgery on oneself, but it seemed like it was on somebody else because I couldn't feel a thing. Anyway, this bump turned out to be a joint cyst. I remember the surgeon saying, "Hey Kevin, it's just a joint cyst after all. I'll stitch it back up, fix it, and we'll be fine." So, you know, I had my surgery and I went home and it was just a joint cyst, which means a swelling of the joint capsule. But then I started to wonder why? Why on that finger? What's going on? One morning, about a week later, my finger was pretty well recovered, but still a little sore. I'm sitting there having my cup of tea, you know, thinking, and oh man, that kind of hurts. And then I realized what caused it. I always hold the cup the same way around. The cup handle was resting right on the joint capsule of that first joint of my right index finger for 50 years. So what it's slowly done is worn it away. You know the old saying about a drop of water wears away the stone? Well, a cup of tea wore away my finger. So I realized that. So now I change the way I sit and I change the way I hold my cup. Sometimes I hold it like this. Sometimes I hold it with these fingers. I just vary the way I hold the cup. Here you can see I'm holding it differently. It's resting on a different joint. So the real trick, I think, to surviving for a long time and being able to get around into later years is try to avoid this chronic self-induced or self-inflicted damage by doing the same thing over and over and over again. So I think about the way I sit this way around. It's very comfortable, but now it's comfortable this way around. It didn't used to be. And if that was the case and I left it that way, it'd be like having my wheels misaligned on the car. On the car, misalignment will slowly wear out your tires on one side, but more importantly, it can cause you to lose control of the car if you're braking heavily on wet roads. Serious problem. Well, you can get serious problems with your hips if you misalign them due to repeated behavior of always doing the same thing the way around. And humans tend to be creatures of habit. So now I continue to enjoy my 2 morning cups of tea when I reflect on the nature of life, as I like to get up early and do that. But I change the way I hold the cup. So watch yourself and how you move and think about it. You may be inducing damage to yourself which will cost you later in life. When you're 20, you have no idea. When you're 40, you start to get a clue. When you're 60, you're like, oh, what's going on? I'm approaching my mid-70s and I'm really noticing things. So plan ahead and think about what you're doing.